free trade is paying dividends. He's made it.
It's better late than never, isn't it? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Monday. The first game of the season is in the books. It's the first Monday after a game. The aftermath, as I always like to call it. When you lose a game, it's the aftermath. We got to deal with everything that happens because the day after, we get injury reports, we get news, we get little things from Shanahan. We get all types of things that follow up after a game. There's a lot of things that happened today after yesterday's preseason game. A lot of stuff that happened last night that we talked about briefly, but we're going to get into everything. We're going to talk about everything you want to know. The big news for today was Brock Purdy was cleared of all his restrictions in practice, fully cleared for practice. He can practice 3 days in a row. It's great news, right? Because he's one step closer to being ready for week one, which was the goal all along. He's QB1. Kyle Shanahan made this decision months ago, and this is kind of the first time in many years that we really haven't had Kyle Shanahan keeping us on pins and needles on who the heck's going to be our starting quarterback. Now, if you followed 49ers Twitter all off season, which I stayed away from because to me there was no debate, Kyle Shanahan told us Brock's the leader, he's QB1, and he's been sticking to it. So the battle was for backup quarterback, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. And yesterday, we saw a big, heavy dosage of Sam and Trey. We're going to talk about that. But Brock Purdy, for him, he's healthy. He's moving in the right direction. He'll get to practice 3 straight days this week without any restrictions. Now we'll see if they continue to ramp him up. It'll be interesting to see if he plays a preseason game before the regular season next month against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we shall see. But, hey, let's talk about the news that we had today and the aftermath from yesterday's game. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Monday? I'm sorry I'm late. Very busy today. It was my daughter's birthday, so we had a really good day. I took her. Actually, she had her first day of school. It wasn't the first day of school, but it was like they had like a picture day today, and it was basically like welcome back and just some minor stuff. They didn't have classes, but basically picture day, which was weird because they don't start school till Wednesday, but it was picture day. So I took her there, let her do her thing, get her files and stuff she needed. And then we went, I took her out this weekend to Great America. And then, she's 15. What do teenagers like to do? They like to go shopping. So I took her on a shopping spree, and we had a cool lunch. And then I dropped her to her mom's house. Then I had to work for a little bit. And then I came back, and then there was like a mail fiasco that I had to sign for a package, but I wasn't here because I was gone all day. So that's why I'm late. It was a busy day. But we're here. How are we feeling? Orientation. Thank you. That's the word. I can't think. I'm so busy out my mind every day. I just sat down like 5 minutes ago. So how are we doing? Thank you, 49ers Throwback. There's so many questions. Let's get to them. Oh, man. What's going on, Steven? Agent E, what's good? AJ Howard, what's up, man? How are you doing? How's my Monday? Yeah, I just answered it. It's been busy. Russell says, smash that like button. Appreciate you. Happy Monday. Red Eye, after that lame performance by Lance, you betcha Brock's cleared. Yeah, I mean, last night's performance by Trey Lance was not good. And, yesterday the initial reactions were, he didn't have a lot of time in the pocket, this and that. And yeah, that's true. The offensive line, obviously, they looked very bad. If you watched the game again, if you saw the 22, and a lot of people said last night, Trey Lance held the ball too long. He did. He held the ball very long. He was very indecisive. That was what we said last night. Very timid. He looked very gun shy. Like he just doesn't have that confidence, and that's something we talked about. You could tell he was holding the ball. There was times where there was players open, but he just wasn't going through his progressions fast enough. That's what the problem with Trey Lance is. He needs time to develop. There's nothing wrong with that. He hasn't had time to develop. He was, the first year was an awkward year. Then he gets hurt in the year that he was going to be given the reins as the quarterback one. He's been stunted by 2 years of non-development. They drafted a player that needed development. Most quarterbacks that come into the league, they get that time to work and develop. 49ers have been this team that's been ready to go to the Super Bowl. They have all this talent, but the quarterback position's been weird, and it's unfortunate for Trey. He should go to a team that needs a quarterback, to build and develop. The 49ers can't afford to develop a quarterback, unfortunately. And yes, Brock Purdy's a guy that he's still young and everything, but he had 4 years of experience at a power school, he played at a good school, 4 years as a starter. It's a lot of experience coming into the league compared to what Trey had. So, a lot of people have said all this, and it's true. It's unfortunate. And today, Kyle Shanahan, he said, or yesterday, Kyle Shanahan, Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback, he let out a lot of information. He says that Kyle Shanahan said that he knew Brock was the guy after 3 games last year. That's how he came in. He was confident, and he was able to run this offense, and they just know he has it. John Lynch this morning said the same thing, that he has it. It's a short, it's been a short window of time for them to see, a short assessment period, but they said he has it. Like, they've been saying this for months now. This is their guy. They believe in him. Now, is it a quick judgment? Is it a quick assessment? It might be. It might be jumping the gun, but hey, they believe in him. He won games. He proved himself last year. Now, if he falters or something happens, they better hope that Trey or Sam Darnold can run this offense. But it's a crazy time. I feel bad for Trey Lance. If I'm Trey Lance, I ask for a trade. I mean, that's the way I would feel. But he's going to sit and take his lumps. So definitely a weird saying. 49ers throwback says, yeah, I've been saying all along Purdy is QB1. I'm not surprised either. Like, everybody was going crazy this offseason. You had people saying Trey, he's got a shot to take out Brock Purdy. And to me, there never was a chance for him to be QB1 just yet, unless Brock was not healthy. And that's what I had said all offseason is, if he was healthy, there wouldn't have even been a conversation, which is what Kyle told us, right? Now, he had the surgery, and he's recovering well. Now, had he come into this training camp and he had a setback, then we'd have a different story. And yes, Trey Lance would come in and probably get that QB1 spot if he could beat out Sam Darnold, which Sam Darnold hasn't looked horrible himself. So it's been an interesting ride over the last couple of months. Steven Reynolds says, do you think Purdy will play at least one preseason game? I'm starting to lean towards, yeah. If he's been cleared and they're ramping him up, I think he might play that last game against the Chargers. But it really depends on how he responds to these next 2 weeks of practice. He's going to have 3 days in a row instead of the 2 days. He has no restrictions in practice. So they have to see how that arm holds up with an extra day, and we'll see from there. The goal, though, is for him to be ready in week 1, but I feel like they would want him at least to be out there in a game situation before next month. But he's got a whole month until he has to actually be out there for a game. So it'll be interesting to see. My man Agent E says, I hope Trey gets better because I want him to remain the second-string quarterback. I think a lot of people want to see him, at least stick around on the team or remain on the team or get, be that QB2 in case something happens. But he does have a long way to go. You could tell there's some things that he can do. Like, he can hit those tight window throws sometimes. He's inconsistent. But there's times, man, where he just makes these throws and you're like, oh, God, if you can stay consistent, if you can get in a rhythm, Trey, you'll go out there and kill it. And that's the problem. Trey needs time to get in that rhythm. He's a slow starter. He takes time. It's been well documented. He needs to get comfortable and just the confidence. I love the guy in terms of his, personality and everything. And he's so humble. He took accountability. You got to love that for him. But he still needs more time out there. He's very raw, What's going on? Let's see. There's a lot more comments here. Yeah, Agent says the O-line was terrible. Those backups were so bad last night, and that's something that I had noticed in training camp, and a lot of people have said that, also at definitely, and I think the vibe for everybody was going in after this game yesterday was, oh man, if there's an injury to these starters, we're kind of screwed. And yeah, I agree, because they took a tight end who can't catch the ball in the 3rd round. They took a kicker who I like Moody. We'll get to him, but those are premium picks for the 49ers who didn't have a lot of top-end picks because of, getting Trey and all these last few years. You didn't really have a first, 2nd round pick. You traded your 2nd round pick for CMC, which is amazing. He's great. But you were limited. You had to come in and know that your depth wasn't as strong as it is in O-line. In years past, I feel the 49ers' depth was really good in all positions. But now we're starting to see their depth may not be as good. We'll see again when the season starts. But right now, it kind of looks skittish. They did lose a lot of players in the offseason. Jimmy Ward, Ebicam, Charles Menahu, Jordan Willis, even last year with, DJ Jones. So over these last couple of years, lost some players. Laken Tomlinson, and now we have players that we're praying, we're hoping that they can step up, because that's the way it happens, right? The Niners always draft good. The Niners always get gems. The Niners always have depth. They always have the next man up, because they do get a lot of injuries. They're a very physical team. But can the depth this year rise to the occasion? I don't know. That's what we got to find out. But I agree, the O-line was very bad last night. I watched that film today. Just bad. There was times where Nick Zakelj and Jason Poe were just nowhere to be found, getting pushed around. Jalen Moore, the guy needs to hang it up. I don't even think he should be a professional NFL player. I think he should be working like at In-N-Out or Ross Dress for Less or something. He needs to find another job. No disrespect to people that work at those jobs, but he just doesn't have O-line skills from what I've seen. And Nick Zakelj, bro, I'm glad he got his college degree, because this man better use it. He's not going to make it in the NFL as a quality offensive lineman. Whew. Whew. Russell Garcia says, I think this is regarding to Trey. Isn't he supposed to be mobile and have escapability? See, this is the thing. I think everybody feels that Trey's this running quarterback, this mobile quarterback. He has mobility. He can run, but he's more of a drop back type passer. He needs to get the rhythm. He's a passing quarterback that could run. He can escape, but he's still developing. He's still trying to figure out, his reads and go through his progressions. He can escape, but I don't think Kyle Shanahan ever wanted him to be that run-first type quarterback. That's just not the type of quarterback he is. He's not a Justin Fields. They're different quarterbacks. And that was part of the, evaluation a couple years ago when we were sitting here doing draft season and all that thing. And, oh, my God, what quarterback are they going to get? Are they going to get Mac Jones and Fields and this and that? Fields at 3, Mac at 3. That was the dialogue everybody had, was people were saying Trey's actually a drop-back quarterback who can run. But I don't think he's specifically the guy that's supposed to be there, just this mobile, I want to run all over the place. He's more like a Steve McNair. He can run if he needs to. He does have escapability, but his tendency is to drop back first, and that's what he's always wanted to be. But it's tough because trying to learn this system, and he doesn't have a lot of development, unfortunately, because of the injuries. He's never really gotten that big of an opportunity because of the injuries. It's kind of like Javon Kinlaw. If you really think about it, it's very similar. They're both kind of careers have been stunted. Their growth of their development has been stunted because of monumental injuries. They can't see the field. It's a very similar case. And even Solomon Thomas, he had issues early on. A, they placed him in the wrong position, thought he was going to be an edge. And then B, he got hurt. He had some mental struggles. His sister committed suicide, and he got an ACL tear. So when you're not on the field, you're just not going to develop. Throwback says, I watched it tons of times. Both need to play better. Trey and the O-line. Mason needs to do better, and we need to block as well. Yeah, all those are facts. The O-line definitely needs to play better. Trey, he settled down. Once he got settled down and he was able to go through his progression and he was able to get the ball out a little bit quicker, they moved the ball. The ball was moving up the field, and they scored, which, the touchdown was magical. It was a lucky touchdown. I don't even count the touchdown, but if you really think about it, the offense started to move once Trey settled down and he got rid of the ball quick. It's all about getting rid of that ball quick in this offense. If there's pressure coming, I know it's going to be tough. I know it's harder, but Trey's got to learn how to get rid of that ball. If pressure's coming, man. There were players open. He just held it and took the sack, and that was the biggest issue. Was he was scared. The awareness, the self-confidence wasn't there. My man Charlie Higgs, what's good, baby? What's up, Charlie? He says the Niners are super lucky we have Brock Purdy. They really are. I think people dog on Brock, and the interceptions and everything in training camp. People made a big thing. The point of the matter is, point blank period, this guy came in. He understood the system. They won games. Kyle believes in him. Kyle believes in him. That is the difference. Kyle never believed in Jimmy Garoppolo. He never believed in any of these other quarterbacks. I don't think he believes in Trey Lance. He believes in Brock Purdy. The things that he says to Brock Purdy, it's like he talks about him like he's his son. It's crazy. Just like he talked about Kirk Cousins back in the day. He believes in Brock, and that's a big thing. It's confidence. Maybe Kyle never believed in Trey, and that messed them up mentally, but I definitely feel a different vibe from Kyle to Brock Purdy. He believes in the guy. That goes a long way, and I think the players believe in it. I think Brock believes in himself. Just more of a confident guy, It's tough because Kyle has had a hard time with quarterbacks in the 49ers system. It's been tough. We've had a hard time getting that right quarterback. He wanted Kirk Cousins. He never got it, and he's been searching for his guy ever since. And maybe Brock is the guy. Because last year, what he did, the things he did with this offense, it was a well-oiled machine. I know CMC came, and that was a big, key to this team. But CMC even made Jimmy Garoppolo look good. So that definitely was a huge part of, this offensive turnaround. But, man, Brock did some things. He did some things last year, Flood says Trey looked like a quarterback who's coming back from a year-long injury. I mean, that's part of it. He's definitely still, I guess people want to say rusty, but he had these same, flaws in his game prior to that. But I don't know if he's ever going to be as quick as he once was in the immediate future. He'll get that burst back. It's going to take a little time. It might take a full season. But again, the 49ers, do we have time to sit and wait for a guy to, get up to speed and get his full development? Because remember Jimmy Garoppolo, when he came back from the ACL, he didn't have his mobility. He wasn't as quick to escape. He was a little tentative. He was afraid to run out of the pocket. You remember how many times Jimmy took those sacks early on when he came back in 2019? Maybe Trey's going through the same thing. Mentally, we don't understand what he's going through in terms of being behind the pocket, seeing the pressure. That's scary. It's definitely scary to know these big-ass 300-pound guys that are running super quick down your breath, right down you, just coming at you, full speed. They're going to crush you. You broke your leg last year. A little scared. You might get a little tentative, and that's where Trey's at right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, happened to him. Now we'll see what happens with Brock Purdy in live game action. That's why I really want to see him out there preseason. I want to see him not be mentally afraid. It might happen to Brock Purdy. You don't know. We don't know how he's going to mentally handle the pressure of seeing a pass rusher coming to him, full speed ahead. So we'll see. That is a big part of this, too, is Trey Lance is definitely coming off an injury, and it's a little tentative. He was definitely scared behind that pocket yesterday. But I do respect the hell out of him for, taking accountability. But, at some point, every player is going to face adversity, and you got to rise above it. And we can't keep sitting here saying the same thing every year and saying, oh, well, he's going to learn. He's going to get better. Oh, he took accountability. At some point, you got to get better and then be able to, overcome those odds. It's unfortunate. Again, I want Trey to shine in this league. I want him to be something special. I would hate for them to trade him and then he goes to another team and prospers, for the 49ers, because then we're like, damn, what could have been? And I feel like Kyle's in the same boat. Like, I don't know if he wants to trade him, because if he trades him and Trey looks great, he's going to be like, damn, I couldn't develop. How come I couldn't develop? How come I couldn't develop? But then at the same time, you want this kid to get a fresh start. You want him to get an opportunity to see if he can make it in this league. And if he can't, if he sucks, then he knows himself for his absolute bottom line. Like, you know what? I went out there. I gave it my all. I tried. I got a true chance, full season, healthy, and I was terrible. And if that's the case, at least he'll know. Mental clarity. We'll never know. Like Johnny Manziel didn't even practice. He didn't even watch the film. He knew he sucked because he didn't even try. I mean, at least Trey's trying his best. But now let's see if he get an opportunity somewhere. So the O-line had a part to do with Trey holding the ball a long time. Yeah, but you can also get rid of the ball quick. But yeah, the O-line was definitely cheeks, I guess is the word the young kids say. It was bad. It was cheeks. It was so, the O-line, man. And I knew it was going to be a problem, those backups. Matt Pryor, terrible. Feliciano, terrible. Zakel, terrible. Jason Poe, terrible. Jalen Moore, terrible. Didn't like him at all. Charlie says, after 3 games, this is referring to Brock Purdy. Low-key, I felt the same, but I wasn't convinced until the Dallas game. When he came and he took this league by storm, last year it was crazy. After 3 games, he beat Miami. It wasn't an easy game. We were down. Jimmy goes down, all the adversity. He comes in, holy crap. I was like, wow, okay. He beats Tampa Bay. He just went on a heater. He was beating teams left and right. That Dallas game, he showed me a lot, though. I mean, the Raiders game, that Raiders game was crazy last year. It was a shootout. I didn't know we had that in us. And Brock was diamond. The Seahawks game, when I saw that Seahawks game and he beat Seattle in Seattle, and I mean, the passes, the 2 touchdowns he threw to Kittle, strikes, man. That the little no look, double reverse clutch, PA, whatever the hell you want to call that play, that was crazy. And I was like, whoa, you don't just do that. That was crazy. I know it was a good play design, but Brock executed the play perfectly. So yeah, I mean, as much as people want to say he's part of the system, he put in together some absolute phenomenal plays last year. He has it. But, that's what Kyle believes, is it's an early assessment. And Brock has a lot of pressure on him. And I feel like that's something that Kyle Shanahan does to a lot of players. He puts a lot of pressure on these guys. Trey Lance, a lot of pressure. Drake Jackson, a lot of pressure. Jake Moody, a lot of pressure. Now, Brock Purdy's there's a lot of pressure. Now he has to be this guy. Because he just told you you're better than the number 3 pick we picked a couple years ago. You're better. You're the guy. You have it. I've backed you up. I've told you you're QB1. I haven't done that in 4 years, 5 years, maybe. I haven't sat here and absolutely knew who my quarterback was going into the season, in the offseason. That's hasn't been done in the last couple of years with Kyle Shanahan. We've always been sitting here debating who's QB1. And Brock Purdy made it clear for Kyle. He said after 3 games, this is the guy. He's QB1. He's the leader. He's got it. He's got it. It's a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. My man Red Eye says the Niners were shit in the Raiders game last season. That was definitely an eye-opener. They played us tough. Raiders played us good last year. Almost lost that game. We knocked them out of contention in the playoffs, but they have a team, a decent team. They got some players, but you know, we should have knew after the joint practices because they roughed us up. They came out and were just better prepared. I feel like Shanahan didn't really have the team prepared for this game. I feel like there was low energy, but that's why it's preseason. You bust off these jitters, and you know clean mistakes up after that. Because I remember last year preseason game 1, we lost 17-0 to Houston, and it was doomsday all over 49er land. All the fans had given, oh my God, 17. We're done. We're done. We're garbage. It's over. We lost to Houston 17-0. It's over. And it ended up being fine. So I don't think it's all gloomy, doomy. I think we'll be okay. But yeah, Kyle definitely had a mixed bag of plays last night. I don't think he had a real game plan. I just think he was just trying to try things to see if they would work for the regular season. He was all over the place. Yeah. Dallas game, definitely, he showed a lot of composure, man. He definitely did. That was a huge game. That was a pressure cooker. Dallas, Niners. I mean, all the playoff games he played in last year. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And I feel like that's the big thing about Brock is he was the last pick of the draft. Nobody expected him to do anything that he did. A lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he handled it well. He handled the adversity. That's the difference. Brock has been through adversity, just like everybody else. Trey Lance has been through adversity, and Brock has come out better in those adverse situations. And it's nothing against Trey. It's just Brock knows how to handle himself a little bit better, and I think it's because he's had more game experience. He knows how to handle those pressure cooker situations. Trey Lance needs a little bit more time to simmer in the pressure cooker, and that's not a bad thing. That's just the facts of the reality. He's just very, very raw, you know. And we can't be eating sushi, man. We got to have a full course meal. We need the quarterback there. We need a full cooked steak ready to roll. We can't be having raw sushi. That's it. Bottom line. Yeah, that was amazing to watch Purdy beat them in that Seattle game. Yeah. Red Eye says, Trey's always been tentative since day one in a real game. Can't sense pressure, can't read defenses, can't slide, freezes in the pocket, can't extend plays, can't throw receivers open, etc. I feel like the sliding thing was definitely a big factor last year. Remember last year? I remember there was an interview after one of those preseason games. I think it was the Houston game because he wasn't sliding. And he says, you know, because I think I posted a highlight of he actually slid and it was, oh my God. And in the interview, he said, yeah, I never slide. Even in baseball, I never slid. Like, that's just something you had to do. I remember Justin Fields before that Bears game, he goes, I got to teach my boy how to slide. Like, it was an actual dialogue over the course of a couple of weeks. And it was like, dang, man, like he's afraid to get hit. And it's not a bad thing. You know, I probably would too. I'm a small frame guy. I would probably get killed in the NFL. And Trey's you know, probably afraid to get hit, you know. And I feel like when the pressure's coming, it's harder for him to process because he's still learning, you know. And I sense that too, Red Eye. It's unfortunate because I love Trey. He has certain abilities. He can throw the ball deep. When he's on. Again, tight window throws. Like, there's some parts to his game that you're like, man. He's played quarterback his whole life, so, he can throw a football. There's a lot of things he can do. But to put everything together, total package, that you see these star quarterbacks drop back, see the pressure coming, read the defense, Make your reads. Oh, he's not open. Oh, he's not open. And then make a quick decision. That's a lot of processing in your brain going on. Like, you got to be quick. And then get the ball out. That's a lot of things going on in 5 seconds. And he's just still working on that. So. Let's see. Sati, my man, he says, Brock Purdy will be the first Niners quarterback since Jeff Garcia to be a Pro Bowler, considering how weak the NFC is. It's possible. It's very, very possible. It's crazy that we haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since Jeff Garcia. I was in high school. It's a long time ago. I was in high school. Jeff Garcia, quarterback, one. Smells like a rat, looks like a rat, must be a rat. Remember T.O.? That guy, that was a duo. They hated each other's guts, but it was a duo. God, I love those two. The New York Giants preseason playoff game, comeback. Jeff Garcia was the guy. That was the guy. He was the guy. I liked him. He's great. I hope Brock Purdy can be a Pro Bowler this season, but he has to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. That's it. Bottom line. And under Kyle Shanahan, the history of quarterbacks staying healthy has not been good. His track record with quarterbacks staying healthy has not been too damn well. So that's why I think a lot of us want to see Trey look better. I want him to bounce back against the Broncos. And I want to see Sam Darnold continue to look pretty good. So you never know what's going to happen to these damn quarterbacks. I hope that Brock can last the whole season. I'm praying. But if he can't, I hope Trey and Sam Darnold can come in and ball. But I kind of feel, and I get this vibe, and I know a lot of people were saying it early in the season and in the offseason, and the Michael Silvers of the world and these insiders and stuff, that Sam Darnold might be number 2 QB. Kind of. You guys listened to Kyle Shanahan's interview last night. There was a couple of sound clips. He said that he was so happy with Sam's performance. He was, he's going to get more time. He just wanted to go out there and show that he's confident of the offense, and he made some great. He was really glazing on Sam Darnold, and he's been glazing him all off season. And he talked about how he could be like the next Steve Young. He's been really saucing up Sam Darnold. I kind of feel like Kyle likes Sam Darnold a lot, and I think that we all know Kyle has that ego. If Kyle resurrects this guy and can make him better than he's ever been compared to any team, he's going to look like a genius, ladies and gentlemen. And even if the 49ers miss the Super Bowl or don't finish their goals or whatever the case is, but Sam Darnold, if he has to come in and he looks pretty damn good, and Kyle Shanahan turned him around, his job could be safe, because if they don't win a Super Bowl, obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of people that says he's going to be in the hot seat, whatever. I don't think so. I think whatever happens this year, whether they win a Super Bowl or not, Kyle's safe regardless, because, he's turned this team around. But I feel like he'll even have more job security if he makes Sam Darnold look like a damn good quarterback, because he's had struggles over the years. 55 starts, we all know. He's had a turnover problem. But then again, he hasn't played with a team like the Niners. And if Kyle can make him look good, people are going to say, well, he turned around Sam Darnold. So, I don't know. I feel like he really likes Sam. Just listen to that press conference again. It gave me the vibe that Sam's his QB2. He might be. I don't know. That's the vibe I get. Could be wrong. Yeah, hey, Peter Parker says, Kyle has never liked or supported Trey, so of course he buttered up sourdough Sammy. He buttered him up like a big piece. He slathered the cream cheese on him like he was a bagel, man. He just slathered him up, buttered him up. Ooh, he loved him. Loves Sammy. I've heard nothing but praise on Sam Darnold from Kyle. So. Let's see. Let's pull up some comments because I was going on a rant. Let's see. Love Jeff Garcia. Yeah, Jimmy G was a Pro Bowl in 2019. Was he an alternate? I don't think he got voted to a Pro Bowl. Might have just been given a spot because 7 people were injured. Yeah, that's true, Red Eye. He didn't have enough games under his belt, but he should have been a Pro Bowler based on how he came in last year. cold-blooded. Yeah. Kyle has never liked or supported Trey. Let's see. All right, let's get to some other stuff. So today, obviously, we can sit here and talk about this quarterback situation all day, all night. There's more stuff that happened. Some injury news to clean up. Let's get to it. So, last week we had some injuries, but it seems like there's some players coming back this week. There's some new injuries that happened last night. So, there's some new injuries that happened. So, George Odom, safety, he's got a shoulder injury. He's not going to be back until week 1. He's going to miss the rest of the preseason. We all know Ray McLeod broke his wrist, so he's not going to be back this preseason. Kyle said don't count him out for week 1. Please don't put him back in week 1. He just broke his wrist. Don't rush him back for week 1. Did you see Deshaun Jameson last night? Let him be the return man. I like what I saw out of Deshaun Jameson, although every single return he had, he got flagged for holding somebody on the team, one of the rookies, Cameron Latu. Cut him right now. Just cut him. He might. I heard UPS is hiring Cameron Latu. I hope you can deliver packages better than you can catch a ball, because that man was so bad. Not just dropping passes. Didn't even know the rules. But yeah, so George Odom, we know Ray McLeod's wrist is broken. And then Oren Burks, linebacker, he's got a PCL strain. A PCL sprain, I believe. It's a knee injury. So that's kind of tough for Oren Burks. He's probably going to miss the rest of the preseason. You got 2 more games. Then you got a couple more weeks, 2 weeks until week 1. He should be okay. But the good thing about the 49ers and linebackers is we have some damn good linebackers. D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Marcelino McCurry-Ball. It's going to give them more opportunities, and I like what I saw out of those guys last night. It's going to give more opportunities for Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles to look like trash, because he's not a good linebacker. He's a good special team. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles should be a special team only. When he was actually out on the field playing the game, he's not good. I hope he just plays special teams, as he's definitely a special guy. Not too well as a linebacker, and we've been saying this. I don't get the DFF hype. I know he's close friends with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I think that's all it should be. That's it. My man Lo Jackson says Zakel was waste management. Peter Parker, Jalen Moore, hot dog water. I agree with those. So yeah, those 3 guys won't be able to play the rest of the preseason. It's okay, because we got some players coming back. Drake Jackson, he had the hamstring injury last week. He will be back to practice this week. Robert Beal Jr., he hasn't played. He hasn't really practiced much. He missed a lot of time in training camp. He'll be back this week in practice. Kalia Davis, he had a hamstring issue. We know last year he had the ACL tear that he was rehabbing to. He's been limited here and there. He'll be back in practice. Danny Gray, he'll be back. He didn't practice last week. I think he had a little bit of a sore calf or something, they said, so they kept him out precautionary. He'll be back this week. And Elijah Mitchell, Mr. Adductor strain, he'll be back in practice this week. That's good news for him. And then George Kittle, they say he's going to be out another week. He's not going to come back this week. He has the adductor strain, so he'll be missing practice this week. They just want to make sure he's ready for week 1. It's just good. We had a few little soft tissue issues. But we're getting our guys back. Now, George Odom again and Oren Burks, to me, it's not the end of the world. They're more special teamers. Those 2 guys are your special team aces, although George Odom's a really good special teams player. So hopefully he's back for week 1. I don't care if he's not out there for preseason. He's a special teamer. And same Oren Burks, special team linebacker. That's the coverage team. But I think Oren Burks played some he was specialized in special teams. He was a Pro Bowl special teamer in the past. So those 2 guys are definitely the special team aces of the team. And so that's a little injury report. Again, we touched on Brock Purdy. He's back, full go in practice. There's no restrictions. He'll have practice 3 days in a row. Hopefully he plays some preseason and get him ramped up, My man Flood says, wrap up Mitchell in bubble wrap. Please put this man in the bubble wrap suit. You remember Little Giants? You guys ever seen that movie Little Giants? Love that movie. Classic. The little white guy with the glasses, little geeky guy, skinny, scrawny guy, They put the big foam pad around him. He had a crazy helmet. He had bubble wrap, the outfit. They scotch tape around him. Just they put him in this crazy protective outfit. That's what you need to do to Elijah Mitchell. Put him in that bubble wrap, whatever the heck that was. What? Oh man, what? They had him wrapped in everything, cellophane, foam pads. Oh man, that was classic. I remember laughing at that movie so much. That's what they need to do to Elijah Mitchell, because this man cannot stay healthy. He couldn't stay healthy. Couldn't stay healthy. Can't stay healthy. I love him, but pass it to Johnny. I'm Johnny. Icebox. It's a good movie. Trey for Chase Young. Let's go. This is some hot. Ooh. Let's jump on this. Let's jump on this right here. Would you guys do this? Would you trade Trey Lance for Chase Young? Nick Bosa is Ohio State running mate. Could you imagine? Would you guys do it? Would you trade Trey for Chase Young? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Oh my God, that is crazy. Could you imagine? Chase Young, Nick Bosa. I don't know. Let me know. Let me see. We got Flood says no. Blood Moon says yes. Charlie says yes. Russell says yes. Peter Parker says nah. Charlie says hell yes. Sati says yes. Man, all this Trey Lance hate is insanity. That it's crazy. Whew. Man, do you think we'd be good enough if we didn't have Trey as backup? Do you think Sam Darnold could hold it down? That's what it comes down to. It's tough, man. It's a tough call. Chase Young would give you immediate satisfaction on that D-line. Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson wouldn't have to have as much pressure. You got Chase Young out there. You don't have to overwork him too with Clelin Ferrell, and we need an edge. Oof. Trey for Tristan Wirfs. I love Trey. I wish we just would have drafted Tristan Wirfs in the first place. It's another story for another day. Instant Super Bowl appearance. Might be. Blood Moon says I couldn't look at social media. No, Lance was getting torched today. Comments were brutal, man. I felt bad for the kid. The young man, I should say. I felt bad. I saw so much just nonsense. It's just negativity. And again, I feel bad because I feel like he's never really had that opportunity to develop. He had the injuries. It stunted his growth as a player in the league, and it's weird. Like, he came in a weird situation. They traded up for him, and they drafted him, and it was an awkward situation with him and Jimmy. It was weird times. What am I doing? I just posted a question. Someone asked it. We pinned it. I wanted to see the take of the room. See what the Niner fans think. I love Trey, but you get us a guy like Chase Young. If Trey's not playing, you get a guy that's on the field making impact, you might have to consider it. If they're going to trade Trey Lance, you want to maximize. I don't know if you're going to get a high draft pick. You get a guy like Chase Young who give you instant impact. I'm not saying they're going to trade him. I don't think Kyle would, because he's got that ego, and he knows if Trey goes somewhere and succeeds, it's going to make him so mad. He's going to lose so much sleep knowing that, damn, I couldn't develop him. But at the same time, if Brock tears it up, he can be like, well, you know what? I developed this last pick of the draft. That's me. I'm a genius. So, multiple ways to look at this. Multiple ways. Gold-blooded. I don't get the hate on Brock or Trey. I set up the tailgate parties, and the ones home, they see win. Keyword they. I don't get it. Yeah, no, it's crazy to me that how divided the fan base is, in the whole quarterback situation. It's not just this year. It's been that every single year. It's like always hate on the quarterback. Quarterback's been the most polarizing position, especially for the 49ers. It dates back to way long ago, early 90s, late 80s. It's Joe Montana, Steve Young. Right? There was a quarterback competition way back then. It was the most documented quarterback battle of all time. And we had them both, 2 Hall of Famers on this team. And every single year we're battling, finding a quarterback. Quarterback's always been our Achilles for years. It's always been a position the 49ers have been searching for. A lot of teams look for a great quarterback. the most difficult position. It's the most important position. It's the position that gets the glory or takes the blame. So there's always going to be, a lot of dialogue going back and forth. But lately, these last several years, man, people hate the one quarterback or they love the other quarterback. It's just how it works. There's been a divide. And especially when you have a guy when they drafted all this capital for, they traded all this capital for, and then another guy that people really respected because they were winning, like the Trey and Jimmy debacle, the drama between that was crazy, and now it's not going away because then you have Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, and then there's Sam Darnold. Kyle creates this chaos zone. I love Kyle for helping this team turn around and winning, but he's not without flaws. He has flaws. He has an ego. He's created this. He puts players in pressure cooker situations. I've said this many times. Jake Moody. This man has so much pressure on his shoulders from being a third-round kicker. He didn't ask to be drafted in the third round, I'll tell you that. But Kyle took him. And I remember draft night when he called him, hey, I wanted to take a running back. You better prove me wrong. Like, I know he was joking and tried to, get this, funny moment. In the back of his mind, Kyle really was thinking, I could have drafted another running back. I could have drafted another running back for this team that's loaded with running backs. Because that's what he does in the third round, to draft running backs. But he took a kicker. They let Robbie Gould go because he was going to cost a lot of money. And that guy, what does Robbie Gould do? He doesn't miss field goals. And the moment Jake Moody misses field goals, people are at his neck. And I feel bad for the kid. I saw his press conference last night. I mean, the guy looked just like he was going to cry. And he says, you learn from it. I didn't even want to post it today. I was going to post it. Nah, man, I feel bad for the guy. He was like, yeah, we learn from it. You move along. They iced this kid. They iced the kid. Raiders iced him, and they called timeouts so he could think about it. And usually this doesn't help. It never. You got ice in the veins. It worked on him. I mean, he shanked it so bad. He was under so much pressure last night. Every game, it's going to be a pressure cooker situation. It's not even, it's tough. I feel bad. I hope he can. I'm sure he will bounce back from this, and this is the jitters. He's going to get all this nervousness out of his system. But Kyle put him in a pressure cooker situation. That's what he does. He creates some pressure situation for this guy. Because every time he goes up there and he misses, fans are going to bring up the fact that he was a third-round kicker. And now that we have O-line issues, people are going to say, you could have drafted an O-line, you could have drafted a this, you could have drafted a defensive end instead of a kicker. People are going to bring it up, whether you think it's right or wrong. They're going to do it. It's already happening. Cameron Latu definitely could have drafted an O-lineman or defensive edge over this guy. Probably catch better than him. I'm tired of Cameron Latu. Zach Wilson for Lance Blood Moon. Well, I don't know about Zach Wilson and I don't know about Zach Wilson either. Honestly, the only quarterback that's so far panned out from that class is Trevor Lawrence. It took him a little bit. It took him the right team or a right coach. First year, Urban Meyer was about to wreck this man. Sati says, if Jake is Roberto Aguayo 2.0, I'm going to rethink my life. I feel like Jake's going to be fine, but just a lot of pressure. Yeah, that was Gold Blooded says, I love the move McDaniels pulled. Welcome to the NFL. I was shook. Iced this guy in a preseason game, and it worked. And they asked him last night in his press conference. They said, they tried to ice you, and it worked. How the heck did that happen? Like, they literally, the reporters last night were shook that he missed these field goals and that he got iced. I just felt bad for Moody. Like, you could just tell in his press conference, he was just like, the kid wanted to cry, man. I feel bad for him. Yeah, Moody will figure it out. But again, what I'm saying is just know there's going to be a lot of pressure on this guy. And then Kyle puts these guys in these pressure cooker situations. Drake Jackson's another guy. He called him out. He called Drake Jackson out last year because he wasn't in shape. He basically said, "You're fat. You're not strong. You're not. You don't have the body type I want. Get in the lab and shed that baby fat or whatever. It's basically what he told him. He said, "You're not in shape. You're not. You don't have the endurance enough to last the whole season." I couldn't believe what he said. That was low key a nasty dig at him. The way I took that, I was like, when Kyle said that last year, Oh, you really said that about Drake? And Drake was in the weight room every single, like, he looks amazing. But, I mean, Kyle Shanahan bullied him. He bullied him. Drake Jackson's going to have a lot of pressure because he got rid of Ed Buchanan, Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis. It's a lot of snaps to replace. And he's going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. If he couldn't make it past 12 games, and now he's got to go play at least 20 games if you want to make it all the way, it's a lot of pressure to go from 12 to 20 with a lot more snaps. So, it's not bullying. It's not bullying. He told him he was out of shape. I think it was bullying. Kyle's tough. But, yeah, some of these players got some crazy pressure on their shoulders. That's the way I look at it. Kyle's a tough guy. Get you in that doghouse. I think Drake will be good this year. I don't know. Got to be in shape. That's true. But, I mean, the way he said it, I was like, God, dog. Yeah, I think Myth5 says I think Moody will be fine. I think he will be. It's his first preseason game. You got to get the jitters out. I definitely think he'll be fine. But again, if he misses, people are going to roast him on Twitter. I mean, people came for his neck last night. My man says, if he has another bad game, do they reach out to Gold? I don't think so. I mean, I know the fans are going to want Robbie Gold back, but I think Moody's just got to figure it out and get the lumps out. Sati says, Kyle learning from his dad. Mike was ruthless. Yeah, they're tough, man. His coaching is what got us here. And I don't disrespect his coaching because you guys know on Insta, when I'm on IG and we got Smitty coming in and Vlad coming in and they're hating on Kyle, like, listen, I know Kyle has his limitations and I've called him out. I'm 100%. I'll call Kyle out on his ego and some of his decision making. But you got to realize Kyle has definitely helped this team turn around. I mean, when Lynch and Shanahan took over this team, the roster, you look at that roster, I mean, good night, Sal. You want to talk about plumbers and electricians on a roster. These guys were groundskeepers. These guys were, I don't even know. They were bad. They were bad. I think half of the squad worked at the concession stand selling nachos. Like, it was bad. And he turned this roster out. I mean, Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula, it was bad. I got to respect it. They've really built a phenomenal team. And Kyle's a good offensive mind. But he's not perfect. But you're right. He definitely has an ego. But if they were to cut him loose, who replaces him? Definitely a dialogue to have one of these days. Because, I mean, there's so many people on Twitter that will say, fire Kyle. Easy answer, fire Kyle. Sure, it's easy. Who the hell's going to replace him? You know? So. Have I checked on Vlad? No. He was live with us last night. He went off. He was in a tirade last night. So yeah, we had the quad bot. Return of the quad bots last night. It was fun. It was definitely definitely an interesting one last night. Bosa, BA, the first round picks that have panned out in the Lynch Shanahan era. I mean, they definitely made some mistakes, but so far they've made some good. They've made some good, some bad. You know, this is the first time John Lynch took over this team in 2017. He never had been a GM. Kyle Shanahan was an offensive coordinator. He'd never been a head coach. So yeah, they're going to make mistakes here and there. Over the years, they've gotten better, but they definitely have made some mistakes. You know. Let's see, a couple more questions here. Probably head out in a few minutes. Let's see. I don't think we missed anything in terms of the news for today. There's a few tidbits I wanted to get to. I wanted to pull up. Let's go over these real quick. Pull up these notes. Oh, this is a guy I wanted to talk about. So I'm glad I remembered. So Isaiah Oliver. Kyle Shanahan mentioned Isaiah Oliver today. We all assumed he was the nickel cornerback starter. I thought he was going to be a starting guy because Steve Wilkes a month ago said, yeah, he's the starting nickel. He's the guy. They brought him in free agency. Everybody thought he was the free agent. They brought him in. Nickel corner, we're good. Didn't look too good last night. Shanahan says, this is what he said, quote, just because he isn't a guaranteed starter, because what they wanted to know why he played last night, right? because the starters were out, right? They didn't play starters. Why was Isaiah Oliver out there if he's a starter? So Shanahan says just because he isn't a guaranteed starter, says he has been doing that spot a lot, but there's a lot of competition there. He said there's competition there. There's a lot of things we're still deciding. He's not a lock to be a starter now, especially after last night. Isaiah Oliver got cooked. They put him in a pot, stirred him like gumbo. He looked bad last night. He's not a guaranteed starter. So now, Ambry Thomas played a good game last night. Pressure is on Isaiah Oliver. Sam Womack. Deshaun Jameson. We got some players that are going to compete for the secondary spot. But it is a little concerning now that this secondary is unsettled right now. There's no distinct outline other than Lenore and Mooney Ward right there. We don't know who the hell the slot corner is going to be. And then we know that Gibson and Huff are going to be our starting safeties. But who the hell else is going to make this roster? Is Jair Brown going to get a role somewhere in there? Is he going to be moving around? It's going to be interesting. They brought in Miles Hartsfeld this offseason. Haven't seen him do much. So they brought in players. But right now, not looking too hot. So unfortunately, that secondary is still a little unsettled. And I thought Isaiah Oliver was going to come in and get the job, lock it up. Some competition there. So slot spot, definitely still some competition. Hey, if Ambry Thomas could come out and be a gamer, I'm all for it, man. Competition breeds success. I was happy with Ambry last night. He came out and he played his ass off. I'm happy for him. He needed that because he had been struggling last year, and especially after his rookie year, and he kind of fell out. And everybody's like, what's going on with Ambry? But I was reading, so there was a moment, I think Lombardi might have wrote this as an article. I was reading this. He says that there was a moment that Ambry Thomas says that kind of just the switch flipped for him. It was in training camp. And it was the day he had a PBU on George Kittle. There's a play before that. Him and Tay Martin got into it. Tay Martin beat him, and he kind of got into it with him, and Ambry was kind of getting at him. And then George came around, and he stuck up for Tay Martin. So obviously, offensive player is going to stick up for the offensive player. And nobody came to Ambry, and he was like, nobody's got my back. Kittle's got me. Tay Martin just beat me. He says, okay, at that moment, I knew I had to just turn. I just had to flip the switch. The next play, PBU on George Kittle. And he says he's been balling ever since. That was 2 weeks ago. Good for Ambry, man. Good for Ambry. I love it. I want to see him continue to rise. That's what he needed. He needed to have that dog in him. You step up to Kittle, that takes a lot. Ambry needs to get that dog in him. Doesn't need to have the kitty cat in him. He needs to have that dog in him. Say, woof, woof, be a man, and mount up. And I think that's what he's doing. So I'm really happy with what I've seen out of Ambry Thomas over the last week. Shout out to Ambry, man. Need it, baby. Need that. I need that. So, yeah, Isaiah Oliver, Ambry's coming for your spot, baby. Let's see. I think that was the other thing I wanted to get to was the Ambry Thomas, Isaiah Oliver. I was really happy for Ambry last night. A couple players, we talked about this last night. Ronnie Bell, good standout. Love what I saw out of him. It was a good rookie performance. I made a little mistakes, but it is what it is. Deshaun Jameson better be the return man if he continues it like that. Really like what I saw. Ambry, shout out to Ambry. Clellan Ferrell, shout out. Had a good game against his former team. But now the question is, was Clellan Ferrell geeked up to play his former team? Can he keep that same energy? That's what I want to see. Was he out there tearing it up because he wanted revenge on the Raiders? Or will he continue to play at a high level the rest of the season? I got to see. I want to see him recreate because he came out hot last night. Will he still have that energy next week? I don't know. Tune in next time. We'll see. We ain't picking sides with Oliver and Thomas. I just want to see the better man. Honestly, cold-blooded, I just want to see the better player win. And we want the best 53 players on this roster. And it's, again, competition breeds success. Iron sharpens iron. Shout out to Ambry, though, because everybody thought Isaiah Oliver was an absolute lock to start, man. And Ambry's applying pressure. That's what we needed. A little competition made him better. No, I get it. I know it's a joke. I want to see Womack. Oh yeah, Womack. I want to see him be a star too. He has like this really good. Like he looks like a great corner. When you see him out there, you're like, ooh, that zero looks cool. He has this like vibe about him. He's definitely better in the slot than he is on the outside. So we'll see. It's going to be a competition between Oliver, Womack, Ambry. I like it. I like it. I want these guys to all succeed, obviously, but I like what I, have seen out of Womack last year. Really good. He had a strong start to the off-season, preseason, and all that. He kind of tapered away. He played special teams though at the end, and he looked good. I think Womack, man, he plays his heart out. He does. He plays his heart out. Preseason last year, he had those 2 picks in Green Bay against Green Bay. That was a nice game. So he has talent. I just think he's better suited in that slot. Myth says Womack and Jameson. Oh, I really like Jameson. Kid's tough. And that would be another cool story. An undrafted guy. How many times have we had the 49ers get undrafted players, make it to the roster, and then they become, star players? It's happened many times. Matt Breida, Azeez Al-Shahir, Emmanuel Mosley, Kendrick Bourne. Some of them weren't like superstars, but they were really good key components on this roster, and they were undrafted. Many. Jordan Mason, undrafted last year. He looks like he's going to be an important part of this team. That's what happens. 49ers do a really good job of scouting talent that goes undrafted, and they bring them along. So, yeah, Myth says Larry Krueger got you hyped on Jameson. Me too, man. We would talk every Monday, and that's what he said. He's like, you got to look out for Deshaun Jameson, Raj. You got to look out for Deshaun Jameson. I was like, okay, I will. He texts us, and he'd run down his stat, like all his, his 40 time and everything. He's like, you got it? I said, I got it. Larry, no, Deshaun Jameson. Definitely was right about it. Oh, yeah. Jeff Wilson Jr. Streaks will never forget Kendrick Bourne, man. KB, do you love me? I loved KB. That guy was a vibe. Kevin Richardson, good question, says, after preseason, number one, is it safe to say that the QB depth is now Purdy, Darnold, Lance, and Allen? I want to see the next game, Darnold, first quarter, Lance, second quarter. I think it's still close. I think it's still a close race between Darnold and Trey. I think Darnold's going to get a lot more opportunities in these next 2 games. And Kyle said it. He kind of hyped up. We talked about it early in the beginning of the live that Darnold definitely was getting a lot of praise from Kyle. And I feel that the pressure is close. If Darnold comes in next week, and he plays more snaps, which Kyle said he is, and he does a really good job of handling the position, I think then, yes, it's safe to say after week 2, that's the depth chart. I really feel that Sam Darnold could push because Kyle loves that man. And again, we talked about it, how I think he wants to really take the credit and feed his ego and say, man, I turned around Sam Darnold. I did. I think Kyle wants that, man. And I feel like he really is happy with Sam Darnold. And if you watched him play, he wasn't horrible last week. But we do need to see him play a little bit longer in the first period, handle the first snaps. We need to see him come out with the second team. We need to see him a little bit more because it kind of tapered down. He came out playing strong. He kind of didn't finish as strong. But I think he managed the game as good as he could last year in that situation he was given. I do think he'll get a lot more reps next week. But I think it's close to that. I think it's very close to that, Kevin. That's a good question. I think it's close, man. Kyle loves Sam Darnold. So we'll see. A1 impression. I tried my best, Myth. I spent a lot of time with Larry over the last couple months. I talk with him a lot. Larry's my guy. I tried my best. I feel like that was a decent impression. Appreciate it. Gold-blooded says both backups have one problem: consistency. Very, very true. They're both very inconsistent. Gold-blooded says Trey has to start next game for the confidence purposes. This is also true. It's a tough situation for Trey. Tough sledding. I don't think Sam Darnold cares either way. He's a veteran. He knows how to handle anything at this point. He's been in a situation where he was cut from being the starter, back to being the starter. Like he's been in it all. He was he was a first round pick, came in, had high hopes, bust, this, that, the other, went to another, got traded, new franchise. Sam Darnold's been through it all. So for him, I don't think he cares if he gets named the starter next week. But for Trey, definitely will burst his bubble. So I agree with that, Gold-blooded. I think for his confidence, they got to give him that start. But Sam Darnold, he can do everything. He's been through it all. So, Alex says Darnold moved up based on yesterday. He definitely didn't hurt himself. I think he bridged the gap pretty close because I feel like Trey was ahead of Darnold after training camp. I think he looked a lot better than Darnold in training camp. But I think after yesterday, Sam Darnold really bridged the gap. It's close. It's close. He definitely moved up though. I agree. Just by minimizing, mistakes and this and that compared to when Trey came out, just looking tentative. Brock Purdy opened the floodgates after Brock Purdy didn't even play yesterday, and he became Mr. Boombastic after that. Right after last night, he didn't even play. He's by far and away ahead of everybody on this roster in terms of quarterback depth. It's definitely a vibe that I feel. Good points, everybody. You guys made some good points. We spent an hour with you guys. I love you guys. Really quick, appreciate y'all as always for the support. I know we don't get as much on YouTube, but it's fun to come on here and talk and get all the comments. I like it because it's a little bit easier to flow through the questions and it guides it a little bit easier. So appreciate you guys. Please hop on the YouTube as much as you guys can. Obviously, I love doing it, but I don't want to talk to nobody. So keep supporting, keep showing up. We hope to grow the YouTube a little bit more this year. And, thanks for always showing love on the Instagram. We're at 250K, man. It's crazy. 250,000. Appreciate you guys. Good weekend for the page. It wasn't good for the Niners, but, we keep busting out the content. We're going to keep pushing this year. I love y'all. Take care. Have a good rest of your night. And real quick, before we go, Kevin, I was going to go, but I got to hype up my boy, Ronnie Bell. He says, who is Ronnie Bell? How do you not know Ronnie Bell? This guy was a Michigan stud. Told you, this guy's routes were insane. Gritty. He was physical. He was blocking good last night. Ronnie Bell, 7th round pick. Only slipped because he got injured the year before. I tell you, Ronnie Bell, man, is a dog. He's got that dog in him. He's physical. He's gritty. Keep an eye on Ronnie Bell, man. My boy, Kevin, keep an eye on Ronnie Bell. This guy was a star player in Michigan. And then he got hurt, missed a year, came back for that season for an extra year. And, flew under the radar. But he was a dog at Michigan. Love that guy. You're going to love him, man. He's a gritty, tough player. He showed it last night. Yeah, I had a feeling too, Pajas. I love that guy. I hope he continues to ball out. He is probably good. This is my prediction. Next year, Juwan Jennings, they might not be able to bring him back because he might get a bigger contract somewhere else. And, the 49ers, they let these players go like Manuel Mosley, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes they can't pay these exclusive rights players that eventually become unrestricted free agent. If Ronnie Bell can be as good as I think he can, he'll be the next Juwan Jennings on this team. Mark my words. I said it first. Juwan Jennings will be replaced by Ronnie Bell next year. I think Ronnie Bell has a chance to make the roster this year. He won't have the impact of Juwan, but next year, if they don't re-sign Juwan Jennings, Ronnie Bell is your next Juwan Jennings. That's my prediction. And I'm staying with it. Y'all have a good night. I love you. Bang, bang.